Commander Thalvos stood before the massive holographic display in the Valerian Command Center. His forearms crossed in what humans might recognize as frustration. The blue-skinned alien studied the tactical readouts with growing concern as red markers indicated another Corvan victory in the Outer Rim. 3 more Valerian colonies had fallen in the past month, and his peaceful people had no answer for the aggressive bioengineered warriors of the Corvan hegemony. For 3 centuries, the Valerian Empire had known peace. 17 different species lived in harmony under Valerian protection, trading freely and resolving disputes through diplomatic channels. Their military existed primarily for exploration and disaster relief, not warfare. The concept of aggressive expansion was as foreign to them as breathing water would be to most species. But the Corvans were different. They had emerged from the Galactic Rim 6 months ago with ships designed for conquest and warriors bred for battle. Their bioengineered soldier castes showed no interest in negotiation or compromise. They simply took what they wanted and moved on to the next target. Thalvos turned to his aide, a nervous young Valerian named Kethmos. "What do our intelligence reports say about potential allies?" he asked. Kethmos activated his datapad with trembling fingers. "Sir, most species in our sphere lack military capabilities. The Zentari have defensive fleets but refuse to engage in offensive operations. The Melonians offer medical support only. The Draconis Consortium might provide ships, but their crews have no combat experience." "What about species outside our immediate sphere?" Thalvos inquired. "Surely someone in this galaxy knows how to fight." "There is one possibility, sir." Kethmos highlighted a section of the galactic map. Long-range scouts discovered a species called humans approximately 18 months ago. They inhabit a planet in the Sol system, designation Terra 3. Thalvos examined the preliminary reports. The data was encouraging. Humans appeared to be a military-focused species with numerous nation-states that maintained standing armies. Their planet showed signs of recent conflicts, suggesting they had practical combat experience. Most importantly, they seemed to be at a technological level that would make them useful without being threatening. "What do we know about their capabilities?" Thalvos asked. "Our scouts observed military parades, training exercises, and what appeared to be veterans from recent conflicts. They have organized armed forces, advanced weapons technology for their development level, and appear to take warfare seriously." "The species seems well suited for mercenary work." Thalvos nodded approvingly. "Contact their leadership. Offer them a standard mercenary contract. We need soldiers, and they appear to have them." The message took 3 weeks to reach Earth through conventional channels. When it arrived at the United Defense Coalition headquarters in Geneva, it was initially dismissed as an elaborate hoax. First contact with alien species was the stuff of science fiction, not diplomatic reality. However, the mathematical proofs included in the transmission and the advanced technology of the communication device convinced even the skeptics. After 2 weeks of heated debates and security briefings, the UDC decided to respond, but rather than send official military representatives, they forwarded the contract to private security firms with interplanetary ambitions. Captain Hyunwoo Kim received the offer while drinking coffee in his cramped office aboard the modified assault carrier Sol's Fury. The ship floated in Earth's orbital shipyard, undergoing repairs after their last contract protecting mining operations in the asteroid belt. Hyunwoo had purchased the decommissioned military vessel with his savings from 10 years of special operations work, converting it into a mobile base for his freelance security company. The alien contract was unlike anything he had seen before. The Valerians offered payment in rare metals and advanced technology in exchange for military assistance against an aggressive enemy. The terms were surprisingly generous, suggesting either desperation or ignorance about human military capabilities. Hyunwoo called his crew to the ship's briefing room. Boram Lee arrived first, still covered in grease from working on the ship's weapon systems. The demolitions expert had served with Hyunwoo in the Korean Special Forces before following him into private security work. Her small frame concealed a brilliant mind for explosives and a complete lack of fear when it came to dangerous situations. Taejin Park shuffled in next, carrying 3 different data pads and a cup of energy drink. The former cyber warfare specialist, had left military service after a classified incident involving North Korean nuclear facilities. He now handled electronic security for the crew, though his definition of security often involved activities that governments preferred to ignore. So young Choi bounded through the door with characteristic enthusiasm, her pilot's jacket slung over one shoulder. She had learned to fly during the resource wars in the Pacific, when fresh water had become more valuable than oil. Her ability to navigate through hostile territory while maintaining a cheerful attitude made her invaluable to the team. Woo Jin-han entered quietly, as was his nature. The medic had served in 3 different conflicts before joining Hyun-woo's crew. His gentle demeanor hid extensive experience treating combat injuries in field conditions. He rarely spoke about his military service, but his hands remained steady, under pressure. Da-Yoon arrived last, wiping her hands on a rag. The engineer had kept the Soul's Fury operational through situations that should have destroyed the ship completely. Her background included both military service and civilian engineering work during Korea's infrastructure rebuilding projects. She approached problems with methodical precision and creative solutions. "We have an interesting opportunity," Hyun-woo began, activating the holographic display. "Aliens. Real ones. They want to hire us." The crew exchanged glances. Bo-ram grinned, while Tae-jin raised an eyebrow. So-young clapped her hands together excitedly. Woo-jin nodded thoughtfully, and Da-eun simply waited for more information. "They call themselves Valerians," Hyun-woo continued. "They're fighting something called the Corvin hegemony. The contract offers payment in advanced technology and rare materials. The mission duration is estimated at 6 months. "What kind of opposition are we facing?" Da-eun asked practically. "Bioengineered warriors, according to their briefing materials. Aggressive expansion tactics. Standard military engagement parameters." Bo-ram leaned forward with interest. "Bioengineered how exactly?" "The details are vague, but they mention warrior castes and combat specialization. Nothing we haven't dealt with before, just with different DNA." Tae-jin looked up from his data pad. "I've been analyzing their communication protocols. Their encryption is sophisticated but follows predictable patterns. Either they're very trusting or they don't understand information security." "What's your assessment, Captain?" Woo-jin asked quietly. Hyun-woo studied the contract terms again. "They're desperate. The payment offer is too generous for routine mercenary work. They're also making assumptions about our capabilities based on limited intelligence. They seem to think we're regular soldiers." "Are we taking the job?" So-young asked eagerly. Hyun-woo looked at each crew member in turn. They had worked together for 3 years, through situations ranging from corporate security to asteroid mining protection. They trusted each other completely, and had never failed to complete a contract. "The technology transfer alone would pay for ship upgrades for the next decade," he said finally. "And honestly, I'm curious about what's out there." The crew voted unanimously to accept the contract. Within a week, they had received detailed coordinates for the rendezvous point and technical specifications for their ship's compatibility with Valerian docking systems. The Soul's Fury departed Earth orbit on a Tuesday morning, carrying 6 humans toward their first contact with galactic civilization. None of them suspected that the Valerians had just hired apex predators from a death world, expecting to receive disciplined soldiers suitable for conventional warfare. The cultural exchange was about to become much more educational than either species had anticipated. The Soul's Fury dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Valerian system with a violent shudder that would have concerned most species. So-young Choi simply adjusted the inertial dampeners and guided the ship toward the massive space station, designated Epsilon 7. The structure was beautiful in its alien design, crystalline spires extending from a central hub like frozen lightning. "First contact protocol suggests we wait for an escort," Tae-jin Park announced from his station, reading the Valerian instructions on his screen. "Or we could just dock ourselves," So-young replied cheerfully. "I can see the docking bay from here." Hyun-woo Kim considered the options. Following protocol would demonstrate respect for Valerian customs, but it would also waste time. "Take us in, So-young. Let's make a good first impression." The Soul's Fury approached the station with confidence that immediately caught the attention of Valerian traffic control. Most species required careful guidance for their first docking attempt, but the human ship maneuvered through the approach vector with casual precision. Commander Thalvos watched the docking procedure from the observation deck, his forearms folded behind his back. The human vessel looked dangerous even at rest, its angular design and weapon hardpoints suggesting a species that took military preparation seriously. This confirmed his assessment that humans would be valuable allies. "Sir, the human ship has docked successfully," reported Kethmos. "Should we begin the standard evaluation procedures?" "Immediately," Thalvos replied. "I want a full assessment of their capabilities within 48 hours." The airlock cycled open, and 6 humans stepped aboard Epsilon 7. Thalvos studied them carefully as they approached the greeting area. They moved with alert confidence, their eyes constantly scanning for threats or opportunities. Their equipment was practical rather than ceremonial, and each human carried themselves like a veteran of actual combat. Captain Hyunwoo stepped forward as the apparent leader. He was average height for his species, but carried himself with unmistakable authority. His uniform was clean but showed signs of regular use, and his eyes held the kind of alertness that came from surviving dangerous situations. "Commander Thalvos," Hyunwoo said, extending his hand in the human greeting gesture they had learned from the cultural briefing materials. Captain Kim and crew reporting as contracted. Thalvos accepted the handshake, surprised by the firmness of the human's grip. "Welcome to Epsilon 7, Captain Kim. We appreciate your willingness to assist us in this difficult time." "We're here to do a job," Hyunwoo replied simply. "What do you need from us?" The directness impressed Thalvos. Many species required extensive diplomatic preliminaries before discussing business. "We'll begin with capability assessments and equipment compatibility testing. Dr. Kethler will conduct medical evaluations to ensure your species can operate safely in our environmental standards." Boram Lee stepped forward with a grin. "Medical? Tests sound fun. Do we get to blow anything up during the capability assessments?" Thalvos blinked in confusion. "Blow things up," he repeated slowly. "She means demolitions training," Hyunwoo explained. "Boram specializes in explosive devices and structural engineering." "Ah, yes. We have training facilities that should accommodate your explosive expertise, Doctor." Kethlar, a tall Valerian with gentle features, approached the group carrying a medical scanner. "If you would follow me, we can begin the medical evaluations immediately." The humans followed the doctor to the medical bay, where Kethlar began his examinations with Woojin Han. As the crew's medic, Woojin was familiar with medical procedures and submitted to the scanning equipment without concern. The results horrified Dr. Kethlar. Woojin's bone density was twice that of most species. His muscle fiber was incredibly dense, and his cardiovascular system showed signs of operating under extreme stress levels. The human's medical history revealed injuries that would have been fatal to Valerians, but were apparently routine for his species. "Mr. Han," Dr. Kethlar asked carefully, "these scars on your torso appear to be from projectile weapons." "Gunshot wounds," Woojin confirmed casually. "3 separate incidents. The one on my shoulder was from a sniper rifle. And you survived." "Obviously," Woojin smiled. "Though the one that nicked my lung was touch and go for a while." Dr. Kethlar continued his examinations with growing alarm. Each human showed similar physical adaptations. Yun's hands revealed extensive scarring from working with dangerous machinery, while her lung capacity suggested she had operated in toxic environments. Taejin Park's nervous system showed adaptations for processing information at incredible speeds, but also signs of chronic stress that would have killed most species. So Young Choi's inner ear and spatial awareness capabilities were beyond anything Dr. Kethler had encountered. Her reflexes tested at the absolute limits of his equipment, and her vision could track objects moving at speeds that were barely visible to Valerian eyes. Boram Lee's examination revealed the most disturbing results. Her small frame concealed incredible physical strength, but more concerning were the chemical residue traces in her system. She had been exposed to explosives, toxic gases, and radiation levels that should have been lethal. Ms. Lee, Dr. Kethler asked nervously, these exposure readings suggest you have worked with extremely dangerous materials. Well, yeah, Boram replied cheerfully. You can't learn demolitions without getting a little dirty. The radiation exposure was from dismantling a nuclear device. The toxic chemicals were from a job in Chernobyl. The explosive residue is just from regular work. You dismantled a nuclear device. Several, actually. It's not that hard once you understand the principles. Meanwhile, the capability assessments were producing equally shocking results. Tai Jin had been given access to a training computer system to demonstrate his technical skills. Within 2 hours, he had not only mastered the Valerian interface, but had gained administrator access to systems he wasn't supposed to know existed. How did you access the security protocols? Asked the bewildered Valerian technician. Your encryption is based on mathematical principles, Tai Jin explained patiently. Once I understood the pattern, it was just a matter of finding the right sequence. You might want to upgrade your security algorithms, by the way. This system is vulnerable to at least 6 different types of intrusion. In the piloting assessment, So Young was given a standard Valerian training craft and asked to complete a simple navigation course. She finished the course in half the expected time, then asked if she could try some advanced maneuvers. Her subsequent demonstration of combat flying techniques left the Valerian instructors speechless. The gravitational stress should have rendered you unconscious, one instructor pointed out. That was maybe 4Gs, So Young replied. I've flown in 12G environments. This was actually pretty comfortable. Boram's demolitions assessment was postponed after she suggested improvements to the Valerian explosive devices that would increase their effectiveness by 300%. The Valerian weapons specialists were still trying to understand her calculations when she offered to demonstrate proper blast pattern techniques. Perhaps we should start with something smaller, the nervous Valerian suggested. This is small, Boram protested. You should see what we use for mining operations. Dayun's engineering assessment became a teaching session when she identified 17 inefficiencies in the station's power distribution system. Her suggested modifications would increase energy output by 40% while reducing maintenance requirements. These improvements would take our best engineers months to implement, the chief engineer admitted. Really? Daun asked with surprise. It's pretty basic stuff. Are you sure your people understand quantum cascade principles? By the end of the first day, word had spread through Epsilon 7 that the humans were unlike any species the Valerians had encountered. Medical staff whispered about the impossible, physiology that somehow functioned. Engineers discussed modifications they had never considered. Technicians worried about computer systems that could be compromised by alien minds that processed information like organic quantum computers. Commander Talvos received the preliminary reports with growing unease. Either the humans were exceptional specimens from a remarkably advanced species, or the Valerians had made a serious error in their intelligence assessment. Sir, Kethmos reported nervously, the humans have completed all standard assessments in 1 day. Most species require a full week. What are their performance ratings? That's the problem, sir. They've exceeded the maximum parameters in every category. Our testing equipment isn't designed to measure capabilities this high. Talvos studied the data with 4 arms folded in contemplation. The humans had demonstrated abilities that bordered on the impossible, yet they seemed to consider their performance routine. Either they were the most capable soldiers in the galaxy, or they represented something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Schedule advanced assessments for tomorrow, he decided. I want to understand exactly what we're dealing with before we deploy them against the Corvins. Neither Talvos nor his crew suspected that they had just encountered 6 of the most peaceful humans available for hire, individuals who had specifically chosen mercenary work over military service because they preferred controlled. The Valerian fleet assembled at the edge of the Kepler 438 system, like a formation of crystalline butterflies preparing for battle. 12 ships arranged themselves in perfect geometric patterns, their weapon systems powered down to minimum levels as per traditional combat protocols. Commander Talvos observed the deployment from his flagship, confident that the addition of human mercenaries would provide the tactical advantage needed to reclaim the mining colonies. The Soul's Fury maintained position at the fleet's edge, its angular design looking predatory among the elegant Valerian vessels. Captain Hyunwoo Kim studied the tactical display with growing confusion as he listened to the pre-battle briefing. Acceptable loss parameters are set at 15%, announced Fleet Commander Velthara through the communication system. Engagement protocols require formal challenge declarations before weapons release. Civilian evacuation timeframes must be observed in accordance with galactic warfare conventions. Boram Lee looked up from her weapons console with obvious bewilderment. Did she just say we have to warn them before shooting? It's called civilized warfare, Tae-Jin Park explained, though his expression suggested he found the concept equally bizarre. Apparently most species follow rules when they fight. Rules in combat. So Young Choi laughed from the pilot's seat. That's like having rules for breathing. You do what works, or you die. Do-eun Yoon was reviewing the tactical specifications on her engineering displays. Their weapon systems are deliberately limited to avoid excessive damage. They're treating this like a sporting event rather than actual war. Woo Jin Han remained quiet, but his expression showed the concern of someone who had treated casualties from real battles. Rules in warfare typically meant more people died unnecessarily, while commanders followed protocols designed by politicians who had never seen combat. Captain, Tae-Jin reported, I'm detecting Corvan ships entering the system. 27 vessels. In battle formation. Hyunwoo studied the enemy fleet composition. The Corvan ships were organic in design, grown rather than built, with weapon systems that appeared to be living creatures attached to the hulls. Their formation was aggressive and direct, showing none of the geometric precision favored by Valerian forces. All ships prepare for formal engagement, Fleet Commander Velthara announced. Corvan forces will be given standard warning regarding civilian populations and territorial violations. The Soul's Fury crew watched in amazement as the Valerian fleet broadcast formal challenges to the approaching Corvans. The messages included detailed explanations of territorial rights, civilian protection requirements, and acceptable combat parameters. The entire process took nearly 20 minutes. They're giving away their positions, So Young observed with disbelief, and their tactical intentions, and their fleet composition. The Corvans are responding, Tae-Jin reported. They're accepting the formal challenge and agreeing to limited engagement parameters. This is insane, Boram muttered. They're negotiating how to fight before they fight. The battle began with both fleets maneuvering into approved combat formations. Weapons fire was exchanged in measured bursts, with careful attention paid to avoiding excessive damage to enemy vessels. When Corvan bioships were disabled, Valerian rescue teams immediately moved to provide medical assistance. Captain, Da-eun called from her station, the Valerians are losing. Their weapons are too limited and their tactics are too predictable. Hyunwoo watched as 3 Valerian ships suffered critical damage while their opponents remained largely intact. The human crew had expected to observe professional military tactics, not elaborate theater performed by species that had forgotten how to fight effectively. Tae-Jin, can you access Corvan communication systems? Hyunwoo asked. Already, on it, Tae-Jin replied, his fingers dancing across his control interface. Their security is almost non-existent. They're not even trying to hide their transmissions. What are they saying? Mostly tactical coordination and casualty reports. But Captain, they're discussing something called Phase 2. It involves targeting civilian population centers if this battle goes badly for them. The Soul's Fury crew exchanged glances. Threatening civilians crossed lines that even civilized mercenaries wouldn't tolerate. These weren't soldiers fighting for territory or resources. They were predators using warfare as an excuse for murder. Fleet Commander Velthara, Hyunwoo opened a communication channel. This is Captain Kim. We request permission to engage independently. Negative, Captain Kim. All vessels must maintain formation and follow engagement protocols. Ma'am, the Corvans are planning to target civilian populations after this battle. That information will be addressed through proper diplomatic channels after the current engagement concludes. Hyunwoo closed the communication channel and looked at his crew. Opinions. They're going to get people killed following stupid rules, Boram said bluntly. The Corvins are treating this like a game, So Young added. They're not even trying hard because they know the Valerians won't fight effectively. Medical casualties are going to be severe if this continues, Wu Jin observed quietly. Both sides are taking unnecessary damage. Their tactics are designed for ritualized combat, not actual warfare, Dayun concluded. The Corvins understand this and are exploiting Valerian limitations. Tae-jin looked up from his console. Captain, I've mapped their entire fleet network. I can disrupt their communications and navigation systems without causing permanent damage. Hyun-woo considered the situation. They had been hired to assist Valerian forces, but following Valerian protocols would result in unnecessary casualties and possible civilian deaths. The Corvins were playing by rules that favored their aggressive tactics while the Valerians handicapped themselves with civilized limitations. So Young, can you get us through their formation without triggering their targeting systems? Easily. Their sensors are configured for long-range detection, not close proximity maneuvering. Boram, non-lethal options for disabling their ships. I can overload their bio-neural networks with electromagnetic pulses. It'll knock them unconscious without permanent damage. Dayun, what do we need for rapid maneuvering? Give me 30 seconds to reroute power from non-essential systems. I can push our engines beyond normal parameters. Wu Jin, medical support for both sides after we finish, already preparing triage protocols. Hyun-woo activated the ship's internal communication system. All hands, prepare for independent tactical engagement. We're going to end this quickly and cleanly. The Soul's Fury broke formation without warning, accelerating directly toward the Corvin fleet. So Young piloted the ship through the battle zone like a dancer moving through frozen statues, avoiding weapons fire that was too slow to track her movements. Valerian fleet, this is Captain Kim. Hyun-woo broadcast on all frequencies. Recommend immediate withdrawal to safe distance. We're implementing alternative tactical solutions. Captain Kim, return to formation immediately, Fleet Commander Velthara demanded. Negative, ma'am. We're ending this engagement now. Tae-jin activated his infiltration protocols, sending cascading system failures through the Corvin fleet's communication networks. Ships that had been coordinating perfectly suddenly found themselves blind and isolated. Boram targeted the bio-neural clusters on each Corvin vessel, sending precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses that overloaded their organic control systems. The alien warriors aboard those ships collapsed unconscious without permanent injury. Dayun pushed the Soul's Fury's engines beyond safe operating parameters, allowing So Young to move through the Corvin formation faster than their targeting. Systems could compensate. Within 12 minutes, the entire Corvin fleet was disabled and drifting. Not a single ship had been destroyed, and casualties were limited to unconsciousness among the warrior crews. The Valerian fleet remained in formation, too shocked to move as they processed what had just happened. 27 enemy vessels had been neutralized by a single human ship using tactics that violated every principle of civilized warfare. All ships, this is Captain Kim, Hyun-woo announced calmly. Enemy fleet is secured. Recommend immediate medical assistance for unconscious personnel. Tae-jin, transmit revival procedures to Valerian medical teams. Soul's Fury, this is Fleet Commander Velthara. The Valerian's voice carried a mixture of amazement and concern. Explain your tactical approach. We stopped following their rules and started following ours, Hyun-woo replied simply. Your rules. We fight to win quickly and efficiently while minimizing casualties on all sides. The Corvins were exploiting your limitations, so we removed those limitations. But the engagement protocols exist to prevent excessive violence. Ma'am, excessive violence is what happens when you drag out conflicts unnecessarily. Quick, decisive action saves lives. As Valerian medical teams moved to assist the unconscious Corvin warriors, Tae-jin intercepted final transmissions from the disabled fleet. Captain, the Corvins are calling this engagement impossible. They're requesting immediate conference with their high command. Why? Boram asked. Because they've never encountered opponents who fight effectively without following traditional warfare limitations. Commander Thalvos reviewed the battle recordings with growing unease. The news of the Kepler 438 defeat spread through Corvin space like wildfire through dry grass. War leader Thakmor stood before the assembled high command, his bio-enhanced form trembling with rage as he reviewed the battle recordings for the 5th time. The impossible footage showed a single alien vessel neutralizing an entire Corvan fleet without destroying a single ship. "Explain this failure," demanded Supreme War Leader Vashkol, her massive frame dominating the command chamber. The Corvan leadership had evolved from pack hunters, and their society respected only strength and successful aggression. "The enemy employed unknown technology," Thakmor replied carefully. "Our warrior castes were rendered unconscious through methods our medical specialists cannot identify." "Unconscious." Vashkol's voice carried deadly mockery. "Our bioengineered warriors, immune to pain and fear, were defeated by aliens who made them take naps. The tactical analysis suggests these humans possess capabilities beyond current galactic standards. They bypassed all established warfare protocols and engaged in combat patterns our forces were not prepared to counter." Another war leader, Kekstar, stepped forward with information downloaded from intercepted communications. "Our intelligence networks have identified these humans as mercenaries hired by the Valerians. They originate from a planet called Terra 3, in an isolated system." "What do we know about their species?" Vashkol demanded. "Very little. They appear to be recent additions to galactic civilization, but their technology and tactical abilities suggest rapid advancement. More concerning, they show no respect for traditional combat limitations." Vashkol studied the tactical recordings, again, her predator instincts recognizing something dangerous in the human approach to warfare. "They fight like hunters, not soldiers." "War leader, our forces require new tactical approaches to counter these humans. Perhaps we should consider negotiation." "No." Vashkol's decision was final. "The Corvan hegemony does not negotiate with prey species. If these humans represent a new threat, we eliminate them decisively." "What are your orders, Supreme War Leader?" "Deploy the Berserker castes, target civilian populations in human-protected systems. When they respond to defend innocents, we will study their capabilities and develop countermeasures." The Corvan escalation began 3 weeks later, with simultaneous attacks on mining colonies in the Vega and Proxima systems. The Berserker castes were the hegemony's most extreme creation, bioengineered warriors who felt no pain, showed no mercy, and fought until their bodies could no longer function. They had been designed for situations where normal Corvan forces proved insufficient. The Soul's Fury received the distress calls while conducting routine patrol operations near Epsilon 7. Captain Hyunwoo Kim listened to the panicked transmissions with growing anger as reports described systematic attacks on civilian targets. "Taejin, verify those coordinates," he ordered. "Confirmed, Captain. Corvan forces are hitting mining stations with families aboard. Estimated civilian population exceeds 40,000 across both systems." Bo-Ram Lee looked up from her weapons maintenance with cold fury in her eyes. "They're targeting non-combatants." "Standard Corvan escalation pattern," So Young Choi observed grimly. "When their military tactics fail, they try to force emotional responses through civilian casualties." Dayun Yoon was already rerouting ship systems for maximum performance. "Captain, we can reach Vega in 18 hours if I push the engines beyond safe parameters." "Do it," Hyunwoo decided immediately. "Woojin, prepare for mass casualty medical support." The medic was already organizing supplies with practiced efficiency. "Triage protocols established. I'll need to coordinate with station medical facilities." "Taijin, contact Fleet Commander Velthara. Tell her we're responding to the civilian emergency." "Sir, the Valerians are mobilizing their fleet, but they're following standard protocols. They won't arrive for 72 hours. 72 hours? Bo-Ram asked with disbelief. "People are dying now." Hyunwoo activated the ship's communication system. "All hands, we're going to civilian rescue operations. The Corvans have escalated to targeting families. This is no longer a military contract." The Soul's Fury departed Valerian space at maximum velocity, leaving a diplomatic crisis in its wake. Commander Thalvos received angry communications from his superiors, demanding explanations for human departures from established protocols. "Sir, the humans ignored direct orders to wait for fleet coordination," Kethmos reported nervously. "What was their response when you reminded them of proper procedures?" Captain Kim said that proper procedures don't apply when civilians are under attack. He used several words that our translation systems cannot process, but the emotional context suggested extreme displeasure. Thalavos studied the tactical projections showing human arrival times versus Valerian fleet deployment. They'll reach the attack sites 3 days before our forces. Should we order them to wait for support? Would they listen? Kethmos considered the question seriously. Based on their previous behavior, probably not. The Soul's Fury dropped out of hyperspace in the Vega system to find chaos. 3. Mining. Stations were under attack by Corvan bioships, their organic weapons systematically destroying life support systems while ignoring valuable equipment. The Berserker castes were prolonging the attacks deliberately, using terror tactics to maximize psychological impact. Taejin, intercept their communications, Hyunwoo ordered. I want to know what they're planning. Already on it, Captain. They're coordinating attacks to maximize civilian casualties while minimizing infrastructure damage. They want the Valerians to see intact facilities surrounded by bodies. So Young guided the ship toward the nearest station, where escape pods were launching under Corvan weapons fire. Several pods had already been destroyed, their occupants killed for the psychological effect rather than military necessity. Boram, can you disable those bioships without damaging the station? Give me 30 seconds to analyze their neural clusters. These Berserker variants have different bioarchitecture than the previous models. The Corvan forces detected the Soul's Fury's approach but initially ignored the single ship. Their intelligence indicated that humans required numerical superiority to achieve victory, and one vessel posed no threat to an entire attack fleet. They were catastrophically wrong. Boram had studied the bio-neural patterns of captured Corvan technology during the previous engagement. The Berserker castes used enhanced versions of the same organic control systems, but their modifications created new vulnerabilities that could be exploited. Targeting solutions ready, she announced. These enhanced warriors are more sensitive to neural disruption than standard Corvans. Do it. The Soul's Fury engaged the Corvan fleet with tactics that horrified both sides. So Young piloted through weapons fire that should have been impossible to avoid, while Boram targeted specific neural clusters with precision that bordered on surgical. The Berserker castes found themselves facing opponents who could disable their bioships faster than they could adapt, but the human crew quickly realized that these Corvans were different from their previous opponents. The Berserker warriors didn't retreat when their ships were disabled. Instead, they launched boarding actions against the mining stations, using personal weapons to continue their attacks on foot. Captain, they're not trying to capture territory, Wu Jin reported as he monitored the station communications. They're just killing civilians. How many stations are under direct assault? All 3. Estimated Berserker forces total approximately 300 warriors. Hyunwoo made a decision that would haunt him later. So Young, take us to Station Alpha, we're going aboard. Sir, ship-to-ship combat is one thing, but ground operations against bio-enhanced warriors are exactly what we're trained for, Boram interrupted with grim determination. The Soul's Fury docked with Mining Station Alpha while Corvan bioships continued their attacks on the other facilities. The human crew armed themselves with weapons designed for close-quarters combat, equipment that looked primitive compared to Valerian energy weapons, but had been proven effective against enhanced opponents. The Berserker castes had not expected to face humans in ground combat. Their bioengineering made them immune to pain and fear, but it did not prepare them for opponents who fought with tactical intelligence combined with predatory instincts. Boram used improvised explosives to collapse corridor sections, trapping Berserker groups in areas where their numbers became disadvantages rather than assets. Taejin hacked station systems to control lighting and atmospheric conditions, creating environmental advantages for human vision and mobility. So Young used her pilot training to navigate the station's 3-dimensional layout faster than the Corvans could track, appearing in unexpected locations to provide support fire. Taeyun turned maintenance systems into weapons, using industrial equipment to disable bio-enhanced warriors without killing them unnecessarily. Wu Jin established medical triage areas for wounded civilians while simultaneously treating injuries among the human team. His gentle demeanor concealed combat experience that allowed him to function under conditions that would break most medical personnel. But the psychological impact on the human crew was severe. They had expected military opposition, not systematic murder of families. Supreme War Leader Vashkol stood in the Corvin High Command Center, studying intelligence reports that made no tactical sense. The human response to Berserker caste attacks had been swift and devastating, but more disturbing were the psychological profiles emerging from survivor debriefings. Explain these casualty ratios, she demanded of War Leader Thakmor. Supreme War Leader, 6 humans eliminated 300 Berserker warriors while simultaneously protecting civilian populations. Our forces reported that the humans fought with unusual characteristics. Define unusual. They showed no fear response to bio-enhanced opponents. They adapted tactics in real time to counter Berserker advantages. Most concerning, they displayed emotional reactions to civilian casualties that increased their combat effectiveness, rather than degrading it. Vashkol reviewed the combat recordings with growing unease. The humans moved through combat situations like apex predators, hunting in coordinated packs. Their weapons were primitive by galactic standards, but their tactical application suggested a species that had refined warfare to an art form. What is the assessment of their home world? She asked. Initial reports described Terra 3 as a benign planet suitable for agricultural species. However, deep analysis of their combat patterns suggests our intelligence was incomplete. Another war leader, Dexcon, stepped forward with additional data. Supreme War Leader, I have contacted species near their home system. The information we received paints a different picture of human origins. Proceed. Terra 3 appears to be what galactic xenobiologists classify as a death world. Extreme weather patterns, aggressive fauna, toxic atmospheric variations, and geological instability that would kill most galactic species within days. Vashkol felt the first stirrings of concern. Continue. The humans we fought are not military specialists. They are freelance security contractors. Their society maintains multiple military organizations that appear to train for constant warfare. Among their own species, they fight their own kind. Continuously, Supreme War Leader. Their recorded history shows thousands of conflicts using progressively more devastating weapons. They have survived global wars, environmental collapse, and resource depletion that would have destroyed most civilizations. The implications began to penetrate Vashkol's understanding. The Corvin hegemony had based its expansion strategy on the assumption that galactic species were soft, peaceful, and unprepared for aggressive warfare. The discovery of humans suggested that assumption was dangerously incorrect. What are their numbers, she asked. Approximately 8 billion individuals on their home planet, with growing populations in their solar system and nearby colonies. 8 billion Deathworld predators with advanced technology and military experience. Yes, Supreme War Leader. Meanwhile, the Soul's Fury had departed the rescued mining stations and was approaching the edge of Corvin space. Captain Hyunwoo Kim sat in his command chair, studying star charts with an expression that his crew recognized as dangerous. The systematic targeting of civilians had crossed lines that professional soldiers understood should never be crossed. Tai Jin, what do we know about Corvin home system defenses, he asked. Extensive orbital platforms, bioship production facilities, and approximately 4 million warrior castes distributed among 17 worlds, Taejin Park replied from his station. Conventional assault would require massive fleet support. Good thing we're not planning a conventional assault, Boram Lee observed while reviewing technical specifications for Corvin bioengineering facilities. So Young Choi looked up from her navigation console with characteristic directness. Captain, are we really planning to attack their home system? We're planning to end this war, Yunwoo replied. The Corvins escalated to civilian targets because they expected us to respond emotionally and make tactical mistakes. Instead, Taeun-yoon asked from her engineering station, instead we're going to respond professionally and make their escalation permanently counterproductive. Woo Jin-han remained quiet, but his medical supplies now included equipment for treating alien physiology. The crew had learned during the station rescues that Corvin bioengineering could be reversed if the proper medical interventions were applied quickly enough. What's the plan, Captain? Taejin inquired. We're going to offer the Corvin High Command a choice between negotiated peace and total war. But first, we need to demonstrate what total war looks like when humans conduct it. The Soul's Fury entered Corvin space using stealth systems that Taejin had modified based on captured enemy technology. The ship's approach vector took advantage of asteroid fields and gas giant sensor shadows, techniques that So Young had learned during Earth's resource wars, when avoiding detection meant survival. Corvin patrol ships are following predictable routes, So Young reported. Their security assumes conventional attack patterns. BORAM, target assessment for bioengineering facilities. 17 primary production centers, all located on planetary surfaces. The organic nature of their construction makes them vulnerable to specific types of electromagnetic disruption. Casualties for targeted strikes. Minimal if we focus on production equipment rather than personnel areas. The bioengineering systems will be destroyed, but worker casualties can be avoided with proper timing. Daeun coordinated ship systems for maximum efficiency while maintaining stealth parameters. Captain, I can give you 12 hours of operations before we need to withdraw. For reactor maintenance, 12 hours should be sufficient. The Soul's Fury began its systematic dismantling of Corvin bioengineering capabilities with precision that horrified enemy observers. BORAM's electromagnetic charges disabled production facilities without harming the Corvin workers inside. Taejin infiltrated planetary defense networks and caused system failures that made effective response impossible. So Young piloted the ship through defensive fire that couldn't target what it couldn't detect, while Daeun maintained engine performance that allowed impossible maneuvers. Woojin monitored casualty reports and provided medical assistance to Corvin personnel injured during facility evacuations. But the most disturbing aspect of the human assault was its restraint. Rather than destroying everything within reach, the Soul's Fury crew targeted only military production capabilities, while broadcasting medical assistance offers to affected populations. Corvin Defense Command, this is Captain Kim of the Soul's Fury. Hyunwoo announced on all frequencies after the 17th facility had been neutralized. We have disabled your bioengineering production capabilities without targeting civilian populations. Human vessel, you have violated Corvin space and attacked military installations, came the reply from Supreme War Leader Vashkol herself. We have responded proportionally to your escalation against civilian targets. Hyunwoo replied calmly. We can continue this escalation, or we can discuss alternative approaches. The Corvin hegemony does not negotiate with prey species. Supreme War Leader, we are not prey. We are apex predators from a death world who have spent our entire evolutionary history learning how to kill things that are bigger, stronger, and more numerous than we are. There was silence on the communication channel as Vashkol processed this statement. What do you want? She asked finally. Immediate cessation of attacks on civilian targets, withdrawal from Valerian space, and formal peace negotiations under galactic mediation. And if we refuse, then you'll discover what humans call total war. Your intelligence reports are incomplete, Supreme War Leader. My crew represents 6 individuals from a species that numbers 8 billion. We have survived global conflicts, environmental collapse, and resource wars that lasted generations. We consider warfare a recreational activity. You threaten the entire Corvin hegemony with 6 individuals. I'm offering you the opportunity to negotiate with 6 individuals, rather than face 8 billion of them. Vashkol studied the tactical displays showing human capabilities demonstrated over the past 12 hours. The systematic destruction of bioengineering facilities had been accomplished with casual efficiency that suggested vast reserves of unused capability. Explain your terms, she said finally. Standard galactic peace protocols with monitoring by neutral species. Compensation for civilian casualties. Technology sharing agreements for medical applications of your bioengineering that don't involve weapons production. Why offer medical technology sharing? Because my medic believes your bioengineering techniques could be used to heal rather than harm. Humans prefer living neighbors to dead enemies when possible. The peace negotiations took place on neutral ground provided by the Zentari Confederation, a species respected for diplomatic neutrality. Supreme War Leader Vashkol found herself facing 6 humans who had redefined her understanding of warfare, while Commander Thalvos represented Valerian interests with obvious relief. The Corvan hegemony accepts responsibility for civilian casualties and agrees to compensation as determined by galactic mediation, Vashkol announced formally. The Valerian Empire agrees to technology sharing for peaceful applications of bioengineering research, Thalvos replied. Captain Hyunwoo signed the agreements on behalf of his crew, then addressed both leaders directly. Supreme War Leader, Commander, humans believe that strong neighbors make better allies than conquered territories.